Welcome to Silence Hide Silence, a gender-based platform where silence isn't golden. I'm your host, Melody Zondo. I'm a mother, a businesswoman, a brand ambassador, a gender-based violence activist, as well as a model. When we're dealing with gender-based violence, anger, resentment, trauma, and a lot of confusion happens. And when we leave these abusive relationships, a lot of us don't know how to deal with everything that is left behind. To help me chat a little bit more about that and to give us some tips and some life coaching, I have my beautiful guest who is a mother to 3 lovely children, 2 boys and a girl. She is a CEO for a company called Utopia Coaching, which helps individuals to piece their lives together so that they can thrive and become their best version. She has spent over 2 decades in corporate South Africa coaching, and she is a survivor of domestic violence and abuse, as well as work bullying. Please give a warm welcome to my beautiful, beautiful guest, Sedi Manthoko. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Melody. Thank you so much for having me here today.
It's a pleasure, and we're so blessed to have you because, like I said, when we're dealing with gender-based violence, a lot of us, we don't quite understand what happens with us, especially with the trauma part that happens. We don't know what to do with it, When we leave, we are angry, we have a lot of resentment, and we just don't know how to pick up the pieces. So we're very happy to have you so that you can help us, gain some professional knowledge on how we can do that. Now, you're a survivor of gender-based violence yourself. Take us through your story on, what happened, when it happened, and how you were actually able to get out of that situation.
Okay. I think I want to start off by acknowledging how it is sad that many of us find ourselves in a situation like that. We are fortunate, absolutely, to have made it out of it alive. But this just tells us that this thing of gender-based violence is great. There's a lot of it out there. For me, I was quite young. I was in my early 20s, so I was quite young. And I was in this relationship with this person that I thought really admired me. And it wasn't like that. And for me, I think it's even more sad because the story started off like that. I cannot sit here and tell you that somewhere down the line things started going sour because very early into our relationship, this guy realized that he may have made a mistake by getting into a relationship with me. And he started punishing me for that. He really enjoyed beating me and really calling me belittling me, calling me these names and telling me these bad things about myself, about what he thought about me, and wanted me to believe that. And there was a time I actually did believe it. So if you were to ask me what was I being punished for, I would say I was being punished for the way I looked. He didn't like that I have a lisp. I can't do anything with that.
He met you with it. You already had it. Okay.
So you can imagine every time I opened my mouth, it was a trigger.
Yeah.
So that was that. And earlier on, I didn't make anything of it because I just thought, we passed the honeymoon phase, and now some stuff is just really mushrooming. Some bad behaviors are mushrooming, but later on, I know that those were the things that should have alerted me to something is absolutely
not right.
Yeah. I'm saying that he found that he had made a mistake because it appeared later that he actually had a steady girlfriend.
Okay.
And then I found myself being pregnant and having a child with this guy, and that I think made things worse for me, and even more so for him, because now he would have to be stuck with me and the baby. But one thing that really stuck with the experience, definitely the beating and the name calling and the belittling and that's bad, man. That is, it's painful, it's hurtful, it's physically
it breaks you
hurtful.
down.
But the emotional breakdown, that is the part that's the hardest. Because you get injured and you go to see a physician or you get something for it, whatever, it's easy to heal your scars. But the shame that comes with having to go to work the next day, when you called in today to tell them that this thing has happened, you go there tomorrow and you have to face your colleagues. That is bad. Having to raise, firstly to carry the baby under these circumstances. And yes, the beating happened when I was pregnant. And having to carry the baby to term, that too is extremely painful. And needless to say, I wasn't able to carry my baby to term. She was a prem baby. And that is also part of the sadness of the story, because it doesn't just affect me, it affected my baby as well. She had to fight for her life as a prem baby. But then what did she have to do with all of this? Why now is she having to pay for it, you know? And so it carried on, and eventually, when the baby was still young, my sister helped me realize that I needed to wake up. Society and other expectations out there in terms of we cannot raise a child alone. Firstly, having had a child out of wedlock was the first bad thing. So you're wanting to fix it. So you're finding yourself wanting to remain in this relationship because then it will correct. You will correct eventually what you should have had done right at the beginning. And yes, I was hoping that we would have fixed stuff and been okay. Not necessarily out of love, but out of what do I want for the right thing to do for my family, because then I was now a family woman. So yes, and I woke up one day, to be honest with you, I had to wake up to realize that this cannot be the rest of my life. This cannot be the environment under which I raise my child. I cannot make somebody what they are not. I know what I am. And I need to do whatever it is that's necessary to protect my child, to protect myself. And that is how it ended. And I had to take back my own power, because I remember some of the times when I would actually give it away. I knew that I'm giving away some of this because I think if he controls me like that, then at least,
I won't get it.
Then at least he leaves me alone. So let me give him that. And having to realize that you need to, it's yours, you must run your life. That angered him even more. But fortunately for me, I had already made the necessary steps to remove myself physically from him. And that is how I eventually got to pick up my pieces and try to
rebuild.
And yes, it was hard. It was very difficult. The difficulty was not in the paper. The difficulty was in what do I tell my baby? She was under a year old when
it happened.
I separated and we parted ways. But when she grows up and she finds that she's only raised by one parent, what's that going to be like for her? How do I tell her? What do I tell her?
At what stage do you tell her?
At what stage do I tell her? And those were the difficult things that I had to overcome.
Yes.
And I made it.
You made it. And we're so happy that you made it because, like, as we all know, it's not every woman that is in this kind of relationship that's able to get out alive. I mean, we see the numbers every day. The stats, prove that there's still a lot of women that are dying at the hands of their intimate partners. And it's so, I think your story is a story of many of other millions of women out there. It's certainly my story because I was also as young as you were. I had a child, I'm with him. And so I can relate to a lot of what you're saying. And I think we can all agree that a lot of abusers have very narcissistic tendencies where they don't break your heart, they actually break your spirit. And that makes it so difficult to get out of those situations. And even after you've left, there's still a little bit of a part of you that wonders, was I wrong? Was I, the cause of the breakdown of the relationship? Now, once you found that courage to get out of the relationship, you're now on your own, you have a child to raise. What were some of the things that you found helped you to regain yourself, and to keep going and to say, I'm not going back there, but I'm going to keep moving?
It's definitely been connected to people. I must say that I'm the type of person that has never necessarily kept to myself. I didn't withdraw. The abuser wants you to withdraw.
Yes.
They isolate you. They bring you so much of shame that you don't want to get out of your covers. So for me, the biggest help was being connected to my younger sister. Played a very big role in that. She made me realize that I have never been to blame because he used to tell me so much. You see what you made me do?
Yeah, they always do.
Now you're pushing me.
Yeah.
He actually liked to say, you're provoking me.
Yes.
And my younger sister, she was very young at the time. I'm 7 years older than her, so you can imagine how much younger she was. She is the reason why I was able to, she was that lifeline. She was that rope that you hold on to and you pull yourself up into surface, so to speak, if you're hanging off the cliff. And with her help and her reminding me, and she was actually very aggressive about it. She said, have you forgotten how you came to be where you are? Have you forgotten how at your age you are independent, you have this, that, and the other, and have you forgotten that he didn't give you those things, which was true, and so many other things. And that had me really sit back and say, I mustn't be made to believe that somebody needs to come in and make me whole because I'm already sufficient.
You're complete by yourself.
Absolutely. And that is one of the things that I also teach when I work with people. It's being connected and using it's one of the tools in resilience. And being connected and telling people and owning yourself and realizing that yes, you do have scars, but there are people that are on your corner that want to help you, to be your crutch, to be your support system. And there is really no shame. There shouldn't be any shame. So my sister was one, and then my family, and then my colleagues at work were also there for me. That does so much to a person that it is unbelievable. I don't know if we give enough value to what our support system does, and I think it's one of the things that we need to get right.
Yes.
It is nobody's fault that something is happening to them. Yes, I have a big responsibility in how I react, and that's what I got to learn then in the process. Because at the beginning, I would just be a victim, and now I got to take some of that power back, little by little, until I got full control of my own steering wheel, steering of my own life. And I was able to direct myself, and I know that if ever something was to happen, I would firstly listen to my gut. There's always signs. The signs are always there.
They're always there. That's something that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. Because I feel like it's the most important thing that we really need to be aware of and be educated on. A lot of us, we miss the signs. We often make excuses for the abusers, for their behavior. But it's very interesting, though, that you were able to get support from your workplace, the corporate side, because a lot of us, when we go through abuse, I know with me, I was working at the time, and nobody knew about what was happening. I would get a meeting and then go to work, and my day would go like nothing happened. And a lot of us do that because we're so ashamed. We don't know if we're going to get judged. So I would just like to say, that support system that you had at work, that is something that's very rare, and it's something that we need a lot of, because women are in the workforce and we don't get the support that we need at work to deal with gender-based violence. Now, when it comes to abuse, trauma is a big thing, and it's something that we don't know how to deal with. And sometimes what happens is that it would manifest itself in different ways that we don't even know, because we're not aware of what's happening with us. What would you say are some of those ways that trauma manifests itself either when you're going through the abuse or after you've left the abusive relationship?
So some of the ways that you would see it is definitely people withdraw. And withdrawing is not only by keeping to yourself, but it's also somebody seeming to be absent-minded when you are talking, or somebody being a bit more vocal about other things, more joking, more playful, more because they are trying to escape and rather go to a happy place and laughing a lot and telling a lot of jokes and
almost
really
like high,
not wanting to connect with what's actually happening. And the pain is really bad that a person wants to distract themselves from it as far as possible. One of the other ways is being short-tempered. Sometimes something would happen in a situation will just present itself, maybe let's say at a workplace, and the person would react in a way that would be so shocking to everybody else. And you wouldn't understand why. And those are some of the things that employers should look out for. Slacking in terms of their productivity. Sleeping, being very sleepy, or wanting to sleep all the time, being tired. Not because they don't get enough sleep at night, but because their body just wants to shut down. And heal.
They just don't want to do anything.
They don't want to get involved in anything. One of the other ways is definitely lashing out at other people. It is something that I did. And I didn't realize what I was doing because I'm now exposed to these constant lashings and stuff. Then I would think, oh, that's how we solve problems, you know, and I would find myself doing it. And one day, one of my old bosses called me aside and she said, but this is not you. Why are you suddenly like this?
Yes.
Why are you so...
they notice the change.
Yeah, why do you want to chop and, you know, do things like that? Why are you so aggressive? And throwing the book at people and doing things like that.
Something out of your character.
Yes, you know. And when she said that, I was very defensive. I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing. This is what I do and stuff like that. And those are some of the ways people lose heart. They don't want to connect. Yeah. And in doing that, then it's easier to just be cold and hard and be playful and all of those things that I said.
Now, I know with me, and I'm sure there's a lot of other women, one of the things that, you know, manifested itself in terms of when I was dealing with the trauma was depression. You go through periods of time where you are totally depressed. And also, I was reading an article the other day, and they were talking about how over time, as you go through this abusive relationship, because sometimes it happens for years and years, you know, after some time, your body starts to actually take a knock. So you'll find somebody will get, for instance, high blood pressure, or somebody, for instance, you know, they will get, you know, other physical ailments because of the trauma that they're suffering.
I can understand that it wasn't the case for me. Okay. However, much later on in my life, I find sometimes I would get moments of extreme sadness. Yes. And then I would get those memories. Okay. So it is one of those things where I can say some levels of depression are coming through, come through here and there, but then it didn't happen at the time. So it is something that I think because we bury it, then later on it's showing up. Yes.
Now, in closing, just briefly, what are some of the tips that you can give somebody out there that has now left this abusive relationship and they have to pick up the pieces? What are, say, 3 things that you would advise them to do?
I would advise a person to have a good look at themselves. Have a good look at yourself and say to you, what do I know about myself? We play at our strengths. When you know you're good at something, it's easier to use it. So what do I already know about myself? It's very important to notice people around you as well. You are not alone. You are not alone in terms of going through the stuff or having gone through the abuse. You're certainly not alone in the world now post the experience. So speak. You do not have to tell anybody what has happened, but you can acknowledge your feelings. Your feeling of, I feel sad, I am hurt, I am angry. I feel, even if you're still feeling like you are not enough, you lack something, somebody can help you, almost like bring a mirror up to your face and say, but look here, you are alright.
You are enough,
And the last thing that I would say to people is, you have the capability to get out. Don't give up. Don't give up on you. Because when you're giving up, you're not giving up on the situation. It feels like you want to give up on this situation because you want to get out of it, right? But you, in essence, are giving up on yourself.
So never give up on yourself and just keep going. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for the advice for all our viewers who are watching at home. And we're so grateful for your time. And remember that you're not alone. And speak up. If you find yourself in a situation where it's abusive, speak up. There's always somebody that's willing to listen. Please join us again next week Thursday, right here on Silence Hides Violence. It's every Thursday on our digital platform, where silence isn't golden. Thank you for watching and see you next week.